Hey there, friends. We're going to be talking about the weather forecast here across Jacksonville. Myself, Robert Spetta, but of course we have our chief meteorologist, Lewis Turner here as
Robert.
always. How you doing today?
Great. A nice little warm up today. And a couple more days of it.
Yeah, it's almost like we're too spoiled sometimes here. Mid-70s in January.
It's truly it's cliche, but it's the reason we live in Florida. And I almost feel guilty, how we avoid what great deal of our country is going to be dealing with through the weekend.
Oof.
And it's a good place to come to. In fact, just a little personal story. My mom, who lives up in Columbia, South Carolina, not exactly the bullseye for all of this. In fact, and we're going to get much more into this winter storm. We'll talk about the here and now in a moment. But definitely on the edges of getting some ice. Maybe that mix of sleet and ice kind of south of the snow.
It's not going to be our weather.
Right. But I've told her, I was like, get out of the house, come south. Let's do a little migratory species type move. So that's exactly what she's going to do. So
that's what's nice having your son as a meteorologist. Like,
come on down.
Mom, you want to have a nice weekend, not a bad weekend, come hang out with me in Florida for a little bit.
And at least avoid the potential power outages and things like that. But let's get to it. What we're seeing here around our first coast. Pretty good front there to our west, and a lot of shower activity. And frankly, we don't anticipate much out of this as far as getting any significant rainfall. Kind of a separate scenario that's lining up. But within this, some pretty good snow falling. It's been falling up towards the Great Lakes. Your old stomping grounds, Robert, Buffalo, getting hit pretty good. That stretched through central Pennsylvania, over even towards northern Jersey and into New York, eastern New York State. So certainly have that winter weather impacting them right now. More to come for the South, though.
Yeah, and before we go back down towards the South, I would like to show this video out of this area if we want to jump into this right now.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Okay.
And we're just getting into it here, but we're already up in this kind of area. So let's just show you this real quick. This is a snow sled, obviously, a library out of Buffalo.
So we got a library of sleds. This is a brilliant idea. The little free sled library.
Like, those little book libraries you have on the side of the road. I love this.
So is this at a hill? So they have a sledding hill.
Yeah, it's like a park.
And so it's just kind of, take a penny, leave a penny, but it's all in the honor system.
I think we should do this for like boogie boards around here.
Can you imagine?
That would be awesome.
Like boogie boards or surfboards, like if you had like that level of honesty and trust, with the honor system, with the surfboard. There is a lot of potential. Like with sledding, you get to the bottom of the hill, you bring it right back up. There is, I guess, the potential of getting a broken board or a lost board.
Yeah.
But that's pretty cool.
Surfboards are a lot more expensive than these little sleds there. I do like that little blue ducky that was there just a second ago.
Yes.
You'd always get somebody just trying to ride that. That's way too big for it. I guarantee that's what happened. And then we're also talking about what's happening down towards the south here, as you mentioned. You got that messy weather out there, from New Orleans out towards Mississippi here today.
Yeah.
And that's just strictly on the rain side, but things could be changing up, though, as we go ahead into the weekend, which we'll talk more about here in just a second.
Yeah, but for us, a few clouds out there. Again, today was kind of the beginning of that warming trend. Not quite as warm as we're going to get for our Thursday and into our Friday as well. Live look now, current temperatures here at 434. If you're streaming live, if you've got some things to do this evening, we made it up to the low mid-60s. The beach is a little more mild, of course. The coastal impacts, kind of keeping things a little more moderate right there on the sand. But going out tonight, maybe a light layer necessary when the sun goes down. But we're not talking about frigid temperatures overnight like we saw last night. I mean, it was cold. We after midnight, getting back down to those 40s, waking up to some chilly temperatures this morning. We won't quite do that. I mean, we're looking at the next 12 hours, and by 4 o'clock, we're still in the low 50s out there. Maybe even some patchy fog in some spots as we wake up on Thursday morning and Friday morning.
Definitely a nice and considerable warm-up from what we were seeing earlier this week. I mean, what was it, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we had the freezing conditions in the morning. I know my garden kind of feeling it a little bit. But also, I would like to show you, because this is my first time joining in here with you since the weekend.
Yes.
And
so what'd you get into this weekend?
I got the protector out.
Yeah.
What do you say in the promo?
That is The protector.
And that's what people were saying. First off, hey, can we throw up the video of the protector here? So from this past weekend, where number one, we found the snow.
Yes.
We found it. We had to go clear to Sylvester, Georgia, which I have no idea where Sylvester is prior to this, but nice little town.
Now you got it.
Now we got it. That's our weather station on top of the protector there. Absolutely fantastic. We drove into it.
That's a good shot.
Oh, I love this one.
That's a cool shot. I mean, it was coming down in parts of southeast Georgia, certainly, and even over toward the panhandle of Florida. I mean, about an inch of snow out there, well west. But you had to get out of the area. You did. We knew Waycross and Blackshear were going to be right on kind of the edges of this, but you had to get up a little bit further north and west. What do we got here?
I want to talk about what's happening here. So we drove by this and we saw a car skidding off the road and into these trees. So drove back around with the protector, pulled over, made sure they were okay. But you see, he is well into those trees right there. And in the sound right here. So this was all streaming live, by the way, on FCN Plus. We're watching this right now, and this is why you want to watch our stuff on FCN Plus. I was able to talk to the guy, and I said, hey, "You okay?" He said, "I'm fine. We got a tow truck coming," but he said, "I don't know what I'm doing out here." Yeah. That was his exact words. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing with this snow.
So just lost traction, huh?
Just lost traction. I think it was just that fresh snow was hitting the ground. The ground got a little bit too slick, and if you were just flying with bad tires, you're gonna go, and that's kind of what looks like it happened right there.
Oh my gosh, maybe like changing lanes or something, and
yeah,
lose a little traction and start fishtailing, and man, that's well, I'm glad he's okay.
Yeah, he's fine. But
illustrative of the point of down south you get a little bit, and those are some pretty major impacts.
Yeah, and that kind of goes to the point of like the storm we're going to be looking at over the weekend. Is that I know our friends like up north, like out of Buffalo, for example, where we just saw that video of the snow, the sled, and all that. They're going to look at this like a couple inches of snow and icing, and then go, eh. But my thought, and I'll share my thoughts on the ice storm here in just a bit.
Yeah.
Point is, I think it's going to be that's a clear example of how winter weather can impact pretty significally down and then, towards the south here.
And flip-flop really quickly here in the deep south, too.
We're warm back up.
Just like last night, kind of we've had a consecutive streak, almost a week straight, where somewhere in our area had a freeze.
Yeah.
So we had winter really got us in its grips there for a good week. With morning lows at 32 or below. It's somewhere within the region. Now, we had freeze warning in place for last night for well inland areas, so certainly very, very cold. But that's going to break now. So we do kind of, at least over the next couple of mornings, we don't have to concern ourselves with it until we get to next week when maybe some cooler temperatures and some hard freezes return to the forecast. Because, morning lows as we get into Friday morning, 50, and even inland southeast Georgia where you might see some 40s. At least we stay above that 32-degree number, which we've just kind of been plagued with for consistently. And then warming up upper 70s. Some will see 80 is further south on Friday. I think down towards Putnam County, Flagler County, southern St. John's, you might actually scrape 80 degrees. Saturday, quick cool down with the impacts of some frontal activity. And when I say cool down, though, I mean we're probably dealing with a few extra clouds. Very dynamic system, though, setting up. And with a high temperature of 68 on Saturday, we're still above seasonal, but it'll feel a bit cooler than the previous day. And looking ahead, you can see in our high-res model, we're just now getting it runs out of time at that Saturday afternoon time frame. Mm-hmm. So watch Friday clearing, a few clouds, maybe those threats of a coastal shower, so we keep those rain chances low. Same for Saturday, lower chance of seeing a shower late day. And then we get into our Sunday, mid-70s. Again, another one of those days where we could see 80 somewhere on the map. Let's take a short break, though. It's 4:40, so we're going to take a quick timeout. We're going to come back, maybe talk a lot about that winter weather across the southeast and how it could maybe have some trickle-down impacts here along the First Coast. So stay with us. All right, welcome back, everybody. So it's time to address the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
I think the big talking point here over the weekend is gearing up for some winter weather. A massive area of our country now under winter storm watches right now. So, I mean, I guess essentially an area from Texas all the way over to North Carolina, a lot of them, and well north of us. So talking about impacts for this as we look, and I want to emphasize none for us, right? At least none directly. I mean, let me put it that way. So no direct impacts as far as seeing any wintry precip or ice or snow or anything of that nature through our weekend. This is going to stay well to our north. Kind of why I wanted to emphasize no direct, maybe trickle-down effects. So we're going to say Friday night, really to Monday morning, will be the biggest impacts across the southeast. Major southeastern winter storm is really all I could fit in that little impact, but the impacts are numerous. So and they're wide-ranging in that you could have feet of snow in some spots. You could have a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch of ice accretion, sticking on limbs and power lines and sidewalks in some spots. And then a sleet event is possible as well, which would kind of, the sleet snow would be a best case scenario for some towns because it's the ice that could really cause some of those widespread power outages and crippling the travel infrastructure. And so that's, again, areas kind of from the I-20 to I-40 corridor, so thinking Atlanta up towards Tennessee. And so what you need to do is check on your friends, of course, and family that live north of us. If you have any friends and family through Atlanta, Alabama, Mississippi, northern Louisiana, Arkansas, Dallas, Texas, over towards the Carolinas and north into Charlotte, Columbia, places like that. You need to check on them. And then for your personal activities, monitor your travel. Think about flights. So while no, Jacksonville won't be getting in on this icy or snowy condition, your flight, the trickle-down effect, say Atlanta gets shut down for a day or two.
Yeah.
Charlotte gets shut down for a day or two. Now you're talking about big Delta hub, big American Airlines hub. Dallas maybe gets shut down for a day because of ice. Now you're talking about your flight out of Jacksonville, anywhere in the world, because generally if you're leaving Jacksonville, you're probably going to Atlanta, Charlotte, or Dallas, right? You're going to be connecting somewhere. You could have some impacts through
Probably
the
not this weekend.
So you got it, right.
Yeah.
So unless you've got a lucky direct flight, that Jacksonville to maybe, I don't know, to Vegas, or you're going south to Miami. Okay, good on you. But anything that's going to be going north, you're going to have to check it very, very quick. And this is a great graphic, kind of your impacts when it comes to ice.
And I think this is one of the things, so what I was going to say earlier when I was talking about where I grew up and the snow is that 2 to 3 feet of snow is one thing.
Yes.
It's kind of easy to handle. It's heavy, but the thing is when it falls on power lines and trees, it kind of falls off immediately. Right. It doesn't. The ice freezes and it sticks and it weighs stuff down, and that is the biggest issue with ice. It doesn't just fall on the. It does, but it doesn't just fall on the road and make the road slick. It's not like that. The big thing is that it weighs things down, like power lines, like tree limbs, which will make them fall, snap onto power lines or make power lines fall. It's just like you're adding several tons of weight to these things because ice is heavy.
Yep.
Go pick up, first just grab a gallon of water and pick it up. It's heavy. So you put that and lots and hundreds of gallons of waters on these trees and power that's going to snap. And that's the biggest issue. And then what's the result of that? You have behind this whole storm, we have cold air that's spilling in. So then you're going to have power outages. Then you have people without power, without heat, and then you have cold air, especially in the deep south where people don't have propane heaters. We don't have that secondary source of heat. Up north, I know the house I grew up in, we had a wood stove.
Wood burning furnace. I mean, and having visited family, in-laws up there, I mean, the wood burning furnace, what a lifesaver.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or a stove even. The wood burning it can be a lifesaver, but they're built for that. A 1/4 inch is kind of your magic number when we're talking about ice accumulation. When you get to that number, that's of course when things just get a little too heavy and trees start coming down, or limbs at least, and then that's on power lines or the power lines themselves. Just anecdotal thought in listening to some storytelling out of South Carolina. So Columbia, South Carolina, which is kind of on the edge of getting this potential ice storm. back in 2014 had a significant ice storm where you had upwards of a half-inch of ice accumulation. All right, so that storm in 2014 did more tree damage to the Midlands of South Carolina than Hurricane Hugo did.
Yeah.
And Hurricane Hugo, of course,
Wow.
going onshore as a Cat 5, it's still a Cat 3 by the time it made its way to the Midlands of South Carolina up into Charlotte. Did significant damage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Tree damage, et cetera. But more damage was done by the ice storm of 2014. So that's what you can get with these events.
This was actually a debate we were having in the newsroom earlier today was would you rather chase a ice storm or a hurricane? And I think it's like 3 different levels. If we're talking like a Cat 1 to Cat 2, I think it goes there, then it goes a major ice storm above that, and then like a major hurricane above that.
Yeah.
So like inside a Cat 4 or 5, there's no, okay.
Yep.
Your house is being relocated.
Yep.
But below I think an ice storm is much more impactful than a tropical storm,
Yeah.
to say that.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when we're talking about in the South here, because as you just said, trees, power lines, and then you could be days and then the following cold air behind that. Days without power and the following cold air behind that. So
Yeah.
where is this all going to be?
Yeah, let's take a look at the modeling. So this is a little different a look than the last day, the day before that. This is a little bit more northern trek for this system. With where the potential ice and the potential snow would be. Good news for some places in middle Georgia, central Alabama, and Mississippi. A little worse news for Tennessee, some parts of the Carolinas, and Virginia, and Washington D.C. even. So and really you got to get closer and closer to time. And while we're talking about like hurricane forecasting and the meteorologists that work in TV stations like in Atlanta, in Charlotte, Columbia, South Carolina, Nashville, Tennessee, thinking about in Norfolk, what they're preparing for is akin to forecasting for a hurricane with days of impacts, crippling the infrastructure of travel, and but without the luxury of an entire national hurricane center dedicating. And of course, there are plenty of resources, but you're not getting very accurate forecast cones, for instance.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
These things are very fickle and very finicky, and 20 miles can make a massive difference of whether or not you're without power for 2 or 3 days, and or you're dealing with snow, ice, or sleet.
Well, what I was going to say is with this graphic, it's not only 20 miles or anything like. Oops, I went a little bit too far on this graphic.
Well, let's reset that. I want to take a quick break. I want to come back and talk about this for sure. Spend a little time on it, plus that 7-day forecast before we say goodbye. So stay right there. Close it out with a couple of looks. We know we wanted to take a look at kind of at the atmospheric profile of what the difference is between rain, snow, sleet, and ice.
Well, so you were just mentioning, this could be the difference for 20 to 30 miles as far as surface temperatures are concerned. But also sometimes it's, especially when we were talking about topography over the mountains there, we could get some cold air damming. We got overrunning. And that basically is meteorological terms for, let's say we have warm air running over surface, cold air out there, Lew. So this makes a big difference, right?
Yeah, for sure. Something like what we would call a warm air nose. If you're looking at a vertical profile, that warm air just kind of angles its way in, like if you're looking at a nose on the side profile. And so very common occurrence in a setup like this. So generally, if it's above freezing where the clouds are forming, everything forms as a snowflake originally.
Yeah.
It just kind of the science a couple of different ways. Collision coalescence is a Bergeron process, and you get something like snow forming, but immediately if it falls into a warmer column of air, it melts and becomes that rain. The issue is if right at the surface, and we're talking a couple of 100 feet, if it's below freezing and that snowflake is melted, once it melts, it can't become snow again. Right? It's going to come to a supercooled raindrop, meaning the raindrop itself, the liquid, is below 32 degrees.
Which is pretty nutty to think about, but this is what happens.
And we know that a rain droplet needs a surface, needs a nuclei to hit, whether it's dust or whether it's a railing or the ground or a tree limb that's also down at 32 or below, and that's when it becomes freezing rain. So it's something that freezes on contact with a surface.
And that's why you get kind of that glaze on everything.
Correct.
It's the water hits, but then it instantly freezes.
Yeah, and then something like sleet, Robert.
Yeah, well, sleet is basically a thin layer of warm air, so it melts, but then it has plenty of time to refreeze. But you might think, why doesn't it turn back into a snowflake? Because snowflakes form on that inside of the cloud. Basically, what you have here when it turns to sleet is you just have a drop of water that refreezes, and it just turns into a chunk of ice.
As opposed to vapor turning into the snowflake.
Exactly.
Going from the gas to the solid, you're going from a liquid back to a solid.
So it just falls as these ice pellets out here. So when we talk about when we're talking about making that freezing rain sleet forecast, it can get so tricky just because not only the surface of the atmosphere, but what's happening throughout. And that's why balloon launches and things like that are just so important. Back here on the first coast, so we're going to stay on the rain side of these things. But behind this, we do have a big cool down in that extended